Well, first of all, hello, welcome to everyone to hiring stuff, you know, what we do. First of all, I think it would be a really good opportunity for us to introduce ourselves and who's obviously speaking today. So I'll start with myself. My name's Luke. I work at PlaySide Studios, Senior Talent Partner. We've been hiring crazy, as probably a lot of you have noticed. We've gone from about 80 to about 210 in the last year. And we're continuing to sort of grow. So we've seen a bit of success in the market, which is amazing. But I've got some awesome panelists here today who will be sharing some advice and some tips on sort of hiring in the market in the lines there. So I'll hand over to Will first and let him introduce himself.
Hi guys, thanks Luke. So hi guys, my name is William. So I work for Blowfish. So I just joined Blowfish like 3 months ago. I was worked for Epic Games, and now I'm working as a talent partner for the Blowfish as well. So also, yeah, so I think all the gaming studios have large plan to hiring more people in the next few years. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Hi everyone, I'm Kyoko. I'm the HR manager at Keywords Studios. Keywords, who is made up of Tantalus, Wicked Witch and Mighty Games more recently. We're Australia-wide and reasonably new to the Australian market. So we've only really been around for about 18 months within Australia, but globally we've got around 70 plus studios globally across the board. So yes, here to talk to you about all things recruitment, hiring and anything else that you want to know. So.
Hi everyone, I'm Elle and I work with the fabulous crew at League of Geeks. My title is Talent Specialist, also quite new, started in January, but have been in HR for the last 11 years. So yeah, welcome to ask me any questions. Yeah, we've actually grown quite a lot this year. We've hired about 20 people since January, and we're still hiring at the moment. So yeah, exciting times.
Apply now.
Yeah.
I think anyone you speak to up here today will be hiring. Let's just put that out there. PlaySide's the best. Also today, obviously, my role will be moderating. I'm not very good at interrupting people, so I have brought a friend to help me today. His name is Nick the Chicken. Basically, his job today is one of these lovely, delightful best friends of mine talk too much. Nick will get involved. So I apologise in advance for his behaviour. It is no reflection to myself or PlaySide, but yeah, I'll leave him there if we need be. But I think let's dive straight into our first topic of discussion, which is attraction strategy. So obviously when going into the market, you're looking to attract additional talent to your business. You're looking at sort of A-grade talent. Who's the best? How do you get them in? That kind of thing. So obviously you want to look at what's your value proposition within the market. What are you actually giving people to come work for you? Why would they come work for you? So I guess we'll go down the same route of Will. Kick us off.
Yeah, so talking to like attraction, so when for me it's like what actually my candidate is looking for. So when you're actually looking for a job, so what actually is something you want to change, like compensation, upon compensation, or like looking for work-life balance, or work from different project, working on subsidiary, working on the location, or working on the respect. So that's the most important things when you're looking for a job. So for me, it's like when you join the company, the reason you join the company is because you believe the company give you something your current job don't have. But when you're actually looking for a job, which means you're looking for something new. So as a recruiter or as a hiring manager, you need to figure out what's actually our candidate is looking for. So someone, when we interview the candidate, say, I'm very pretty good for the current role. I'm just open on the market, just looking around, but actually what he or she is looking for. So that's the most important thing when we actually interview the candidate. And also for me, it's like when you're talking to a candidate, as a recruiter, you are like first image of the company. So sometimes when you interview the company, you don't know what's the company doing, what the company looks like, what's the company culture, what's the company project. But as a recruiter, so looking at me, so, okay, this guy working for the company, and this guy is part of the company. They're showing the image, showing the culture to you. So yeah, so I think that's the most important for as a recruiter to bring the company's culture, company style to my candidates. Yeah.
I'd have to agree with what Will's saying. I think the biggest point of difference for any company is being an advocate for your company. You are the first point of call as a recruiter or HR or anyone going through that recruitment process. So it is important to look. Company benefits are all good and well, but really at the end of the day, people are here because they do what they're passionate about. People who work in games. Highly probable that you spent most of your life being told that you'll never make money working in games and haha, joke's on you kind of thing, but you're in it because you love it, and I think that's your point of difference, as is the company's point of difference. So I think for any studio, big or small, the one thing that you're looking to achieve in terms of attraction is making sure that the whole employee experience is there. So, is it the types of projects that they're working on? Is it the benefits are exactly that, they're a benefit. They don't make the job interesting. So I think the most important part about attraction within a business is making sure that is making sure that you find the right people for the right role. A lot of that is, especially in this industry, through word of mouth, through referrals, about, it is a very niche industry. Everyone knows everyone. I'm quickly learning that. So, reach out and talk to people, find out, even if a role's not being advertised, just put your name out there, and all of us in a recruitment situation are collating that information, and we might not have a role that is necessarily suitable for you at that particular point in time, but if you're the right person for the business, we'll find you a role. So yeah, as far as attraction goes, it's a two-way street. A two-way street as far as the company's concerned. I think we as businesses and studios need to be transparent and not just try and sell the job for the bells and whistles, but actually talk about some of the challenges that are in the job. Some of the perks in terms of the types of companies that you'll be working with. Be open and honest about it, and the rest will follow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have to agree with both of those things. But also talking attraction, when you're maybe reflecting your studio externally as well. Like, everyone knows that how great the company culture is, but also making sure that this is a voice that's heard externally. So things like company website, have a look at these things. A lot of studios have great videos on who are in the business, company culture and things like that. I know when I was looking, this was actually a massive selling point for me, actually getting to visualise what that place might look like. Might I go and work there? So yeah, absolutely everything else said, but that as well.
Yeah. And I mean, so you've talked very much about representing your business and the culture and taking people through that. Do you have any tips for people in the audience on marketing your business? How you would actually approach the marketplace and say, hey, look at us, we're cool.
I'll step in there. I think your biggest thing is, your first point of contact is, if you are going through referrals and the likes, it's that initial email conversation or picking up the phone or, however you initially reach out. But then your resume, make sure your resume is on point. I can't tell you how many times I've had people note attention to detail as one of their traits, and there's spelling errors or grammatical errors all throughout. That's like a huge, where you just go, oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah. I think also... I didn't used to rate it that highly as far as cover letters were concerned. I've worked in all different types of industries, and when you're looking at hundreds of resumes, you don't have time to look at cover letters. You just kind of skim through the resumes. But more recently, I've started to see the value in that, and reading a cover letter that has been, someone has actually taken their time to note who you are in the business and address it to you personally, then to note why they're working in the games industry. I'm passionate about this game, or when I was growing up, and I've always, it's nice to have that backstory. So I think as far as marketing yourself within, to a business, really make it a personal personal journey, and invite them into your journey, and make your resume presentable as well, because when you're looking at hundreds of resumes a day, you need a point of difference.
Yeah. And I might also say making your resume unique is like really important to the studio. So everyone has a portfolio, but if you're looking at applying to specific, you get what I mean, specific studios, maybe think about jazzing up your portfolio to kind of suit that studio a little bit more. Don't just send out generic, resumes each time. It's really important that when someone's looking at your portfolio or your resume, it also comes across that this person can fit into the studio as well that you're applying for. So.
Yeah, totally agree. So resume is quite important things like cover letter, like resume. So I mean, for a recruiter, so sometimes we screen like more than 100 resume in one day. So, but somehow I've found some resume, they have name on there, but they're artists. They have like a link on the art student, but they don't show their phone number and the link and the email to connect. So I tried to call the candidate, but I found there's no phone on the resume. So yeah, so resume is quite important, and how to show just make sure everything you have on the resume, like working experience, what kind of project you did, what kind of role in the project, also like artist or something, or designer, so probably like a GitHub link or ArtStation link. That's quite important for us.
I think it's a really good point, obviously, when we're looking at sort of applicants and applications within our business who want to work for us. But I think how does a business market towards A-grade talent? So obviously getting those A-grade talents to apply can be a really big struggle for a lot of people, and obviously to reach out and to get sort of people who are interested in your business. So I guess flip it on you a little bit, mix things up, go crazy. How would you then any tips for businesses to attract that A-grade and really position themselves in the market?
Well, so my major in the university is marketing, so I was like, I don't know why I'm doing recruiting for years. I should be a marketing person. But yeah, so for me, it's like I don't want my recruiter or me to, selling the position to my candidate. So like, hey, we are hiring something, you looks good, so probably you fit out. What you do is like, we show the information to you. So we show our project to you, we show our technical strengths to you, we show what's the next generation of the company to you. And once you think that information, maybe you think that's interesting, let's have a talk.
I think candidate experience is really important. I was taught very early in my recruitment career, that today's candidates are tomorrow's clients, and so if you employer branding overall, obviously making sure that every experience that someone has within your business, even if they're not the right candidate for you, it's really, really important that you make sure that they feel seen and heard. There's nothing worse than we've all been there, going through an interview process, applying for a job. You may have gone in for interview and then you don't hear anything back. That can leave a really sour taste in somebody's experience, and that it might just so happen that Elle's applying for that same job within that company, and I might say to her, I applied a couple of years ago and I never heard back from them. The actions that you have now have impact later on. And so that overarching experience, so as far as attraction, obviously word of mouth, marketing, going through that, getting your employer branding out there, but your biggest advocates are your staff and the people that you have interaction with, whether or not they're successful or not through the process. So I think it's really important to ensure that everyone's experience is a positive experience.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing about your staff being your biggest advocates. If you've got a great culture and have a great place to work, there's no better people to be going out, and everyone has friends in the game industry. So the best people that know such and such from over there can recommend to the business. So in terms of attraction, all the regular places, putting your ads up online and all of that. Discord things, dropping them in different places, social media, but also using your great, fantastic employees to reach out to their network as well.
I think that's a really great tip is using, resources that you have on hand, which is obviously your internal network. So looking at people within the business, and one thing that I particularly do is you go on people's LinkedIn profiles and see who they're connected to, and then I walk downstairs and I'm like, hey, I see you're friends with Bob. Let's hang out with Bob. And then obviously bring that in kind of for an interview or a chat and sort of go that way. So it's very important to keep those internal networks kind of going as well. Yeah. And I guess on that, do we have any tips on how to help or create an amazing candidate experience for those who have never made one before?
Yeah, I think just being very open and honest and reliable in your communication when dealing with any candidate. Like you were saying before, nobody likes to have an interview and then be waiting 3 weeks to hear back about it. Normally when you're applying for a job, you're excited about it, right? So you're quite keen to hear back. So open communication, whether that's just calling up and saying, it's a bit delayed. We're going to, you'll hear from me by this time. And sticking to that, making good on your word in terms of communication around what's going on, I guess.
I'd have to agree. Whenever I go through the process with anyone, I always try and remember how would I like to be treated through that process. I always make an exerted effort to make sure that I contact people before the weekend, even if it is, like Elle said, that you don't have any news to give them, just to let them know, hey, I just want to acknowledge that I haven't forgotten about you. We'll let you know in so-and-so. And following through on whatever you commit to as well, which is really, really important. But transparency is key. If the role is not going forward for whatever reason, let them know. If they're unsuccessful because they're off in terms of how they've presented, let them know. People thrive to improve, and you can't improve unless you give them feedback. And especially for people I meet who are new to the industry, graduates and the likes, they need all the help that they can get in the market. So, I definitely, from a candidate experience perspective, I try and make sure that even if they weren't right for the job, I don't just tell them that you're not right for the job. I tell them why and where they can improve or where they've missed the mark moving forward.
Yeah, totally agree. Just like for me, it's like think different. When I was an interviewer, when I was a candidate, so what kind of information I want to get? So open the process, open all the information fetching when you're looking for a job. So that's a job. We got the strengths and also you got the challenge in the job. So share all this information to the candidates, let them to make the right decision. I think some of you may be hiring manager in your team. So once we do have paper test for the engineer or the artist. If they failed, they show them why they failed. So somewhere they can improve. So they can remember the skill set. They can. They are not, for me, there's not good candidate, not suitable for candidate. So maybe you haven't suitable for next time. So once they improve their skill set, so probably you can work together in the future.
And there's plenty of software out there to help you remind yourself and put in notes and systems out there. Calendly is an amazing one. Product placement, no. And I guess we'll touch on then on rejections, because that's obviously something that has just been brought up. Do you have any tips from both sides of things on, one, great advice for a business to reject someone and how to go about that, but as well as how, as a candidate, to take that rejection?
I might take this.
You're just slowly leaning in. I'm like,
no, I think the theme is pretty consistent here, and that is just making sure that you're transparent with people, letting them know. No one wants to be rejected, but everyone has been in that situation. So sometimes ripping off the Band-Aid is the best thing to do. Not necessarily just advice in terms of recruitment, but overall in HR is whenever you're giving negative advice, well, it's not really even negative, but constructive or feedback that people don't necessarily feel comfortable hearing, it's not about you, it's about them and the experience that they have. So even though you feel bad that you weren't able to give them the job, you have a responsibility to keep your emotions in check and to really deliver that news clearly and succinctly and make sure that they understand. On the flip side, I think as a candidate, I think it's important to take that feedback on board. There's nothing worse than, and this happens more often than not, and I'm sure a few of you have experienced it, where you send out you might have had 100 applications for one particular job, and you've only got one job, so that means 99 people are unsuccessful. So you might interview a handful of them, and they might progress through the process, but the rest, you send an unsuccessful email. There is nothing worse than getting a response from a candidate advising, that haven't taken that feedback very well, and saying, well, you're missing out, or you don't know what you don't know what you're talking about. And you'll be surprised how many people react that way. And sometimes it is a natural reaction to react that way because people don't deal well with rejection. But that behaviour then sticks, and you remember, oh, that's that person that emailed me back, and it left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. So I think it is a two-way street. I think the key is to be professional. The key is to be, if you ask questions, if you're unsure as to why you've been unsuccessful, it is okay to ask for feedback. Where could I have gone differently? How could I have held myself better? What was the point of difference? Ask those questions if you need to. But I think the key is to take the rejection as you would any type of rejection, a breakup or whatever. Just cop it on the chin and move on.
Yeah, and just to add on that, on the business side, I always think that giving this feedback and, rejecting a candidate is always best done over the phone, just to respect the process that everyone's gone through. You've given your time to us and we've given your time to them. And it's a nice thing to do, is to get that phone call and say, unfortunately, on this occasion, we're going to go a different way, or you weren't successful. But just having that conversation happen on the phone, I think, is really important.
I think on that, Elle, you make a really good point that depending on what stage they've gotten to, if you interview a candidate, I don't think it's right to respond via email that they have, they've gone through the effort of actually meeting with you, taking time out of their day, taking time off work. A phone call absolutely is the bare minimum that you should be going through. If they've just applied for a job and haven't progressed any further, I think email is then okay, but absolutely not through text message or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think another tips I can give is try when you're doing the interview, try to do face interview or on the video, so you can see each other's face. That's a good example. I just got a business card from one of my unsuccess candidate. So he came from Korean. He was my unsuccess candidate when I was working in Epic Games, and he said, I know you, someone just William. I said, yes. So we know each other because we do I think when I interview him, so we do a lot of face interview on the web. So yeah, that's a good experience to recognize each other. Just try because email is, you can't see anyone's feeling, or when you can't see anyone's attitude on the email, but when you actually face talk to someone, you can understand more about it.
I definitely think personal brand is a big part of it as a recruiter, or even as an individual within a business, and what brand, what represents you when approaching people and saying hey, come work at this place. Are they going to trust you? Yeah, probably not. But obviously, if you do things respectfully, they definitely will.
Yeah, and I was also going to say, don't burn the bridge, because if you've just missed out, you're going to be the first person I contact for the next role that I have going, because more than not, it wasn't that you're a bad person or anything. It was just that someone maybe had skills that were a little bit ahead of yours. So you're my first phone call if I have a role pop up. That's what someone say. Apply now. This is
It's definitely true, because we want to fill the role as fast as you guys want to start it. So it's kind of just hey. So we're generally a recruiter or a business owner or whoever's working with you at the time actually wants you to succeed, because they want you to solve their problems.
Just a win-win situation, right?
Yeah, we want a win-win situation for everyone. I guess touching on that, obviously going from dealing with rejections is dealing with accepting. So a bit of a topic here that is sort of floated around and I think is a bit controversial, but I'd love to dive into it a little bit, is how to handle, obviously, negotiations when it comes to job offers. So we've all received them before and we go, I would like an extra $10 and a Mars bar, thank you very much. Or, you know, we think the value. What are the do's and don'ts? You know, how do you know if you're approaching too far, maybe not enough? This is very an uncomfortable topic for a lot of people. So I guess I'd like to dive into this a little bit on what we think, you know, is appropriate and what's sort of not appropriate.
Yeah, again, so like, so everything is in fact. So if you over the budget, so just be honest. So it's like so sorry over the budget. So what we can offer is just salary, and also like as what I said before. So just figure out what actually candidate looking for. So they're looking for compensation. They're looking for work-life balance. Like senior guys, like senior. I met some senior game designer, senior producer. So they're much more looking for something different, something new game project, something different technology in the games. So figure out what they want and we offer what they want, not just about the like compensation part.
I agree with Will there. I think as employers, as recruiters, you have a responsibility to qualify early. So one of your first conversations needs to be, what are your salary expectations, and make sure you're on the right page. There's nothing worse than going through the whole process. You know, in some instances, you've got 2-3 interviews, you've got a phone screen, you go through reference checks, you go through that whole process only to find out that their expectations are 20K more than what you can afford. You know, I think we have a responsibility to qualify that from the very beginning. You know, all those questions, are you willing to work in the office versus remotely? You know, it's a bit of a topic at the moment. You know, what are your salary expectations? You know, all of those things, I think it's really, really important to go through them from the very beginning, and that will make that negotiation process really way more straightforward moving forward. Again, the theme, transparency, is key. I think also the interview process is an opportunity for the prospective employer to interview the candidate, but it's just as important for the candidate to interview the prospective employer. At the end of the day, you know, you spend minimum, if you're full-time, 38 hours a week, you know, within that particular business. You really need to make sure that it's the right business for you, not just to do with salary, but, you know, all of those other aspects. With regards to negotiation, salary is obviously a key driver. You know, we wouldn't be here if you wouldn't be working if it weren't for the salary. But also, don't just weigh up the salary side of things, weigh up everything else. You know, is the job going to be something that is, you know, that's going to motivate you? Is it the type of industry that you want to be in? Is it the type of work that you want to be working on? All of those things are important to factor in, and ask the question. If you're not able to get the salary that you're after, you know, you might then say, all right, is it possible to get a review at 6 months, a salary review at 6 months? Or there's other things that you can negotiate outside of that salary, and it's a lot easier to ask for more money or to ask for a better opportunity once you've proved yourself in the role.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, everyone, you know your worth too, but also do your research when you're having these conversations. Come with facts, be ready to have this conversation and why you want that higher pay grade. You know, often when we advertise these roles, they come in bands, so this much to this much. And when we make an offer, there's a reason we're doing that. We're not just putting you at the low end just because we want to save some money. There's a reason. So, you know, come ready to have these conversations of why I'm worth this little bit more. And like you were saying, maybe, yes, have a pay review in 6 months. Say, let me show you I'm worth it. And also, you know, don't be afraid to bring it up and have the conversation, because the worst answer you're going to have is no. And then at least you know, like, you're not going to come on board with that feeling, that icky feeling of I should have asked.
Yeah, I think a really important thing is to establish what your values are and what you're looking for in the next workplace. If it is a higher salary bracket because you're looking at buying Turak and mansion, then hey, that's probably your number one sort of value right now in terms of what you're looking for. But if it's, hey, you want to work on a cool type of game that Blowfish is making, then that might be of more value to you than the extra $10 and a Mars bar that I spoke about before. But
I think also, just touching on the salary side of things, for a lot of candidates, everyone's at a different stage in their life. You know, Kyoko in her 20s was all about the salary side of things, making sure I could afford a cool car and, you know, doing whatever else motivated me at the time. Kyoko is a working mum. I value my time, you know. And so there are other things that businesses and studios can offer. You might be priced out in the market because some AAA company has offered 20 grand more. But, hey, I can offer you, you know, flexible working. Yeah. If you want to pick up your kids during and only work school hours or work nights, go for it, you know. You have a lot more to be able to negotiate than just money. And so I think it's important to look at things from different perspectives and ask the question, you know, the role that I'm in currently is a full-time role, 38 hours a week, but I work 4 days because I've got kids and I value my time with my kids. It wasn't necessarily advertised as that, but I asked the question and said, hey, is there any possibility that I could work this, to work around my work-life balance, really? And the answer was yes. If I hadn't have asked that question, I'd be working 5 days a week. I'd be missing out on hanging out with my kids, you know, a day a week. So I think it's important to ask those questions that go when you are negotiating, go beyond just negotiating salary. Look at what else can be offered that works with you.
Yeah, I think that's very good because I can share one of my experience. So I just moved to Australia like 2 years ago. So previously I was working in China. So at that time, like 5-6 years ago, I just had my boy. And that time, one of a Chinese company offered me a pay, what should I say, triple pay of my last job. But I asked my wife, so you cannot see me in the weekend. I only can see you and my boy like half day a week. Do you allow me to accept? He said no. So I said, I reject that offer. I mean, yeah, just figure out what actually you are looking for.
Yeah, what your values are.
Yeah, what's values are.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think just to analyse that within yourself and just go, what am I looking for, is really important. Okay, cool. Well, I guess I'll touch on the other taboo topic at the moment is obviously at the industry we are suffering, well, pretty much Australia and almost every industry is suffering from a labour shortage right now, kind of across the board. We all feel it, but something that has pried up and I think is quite sort of newer within sort of the game industry is sort of that headhunting or that poaching that, you know, sorry, some of us do. So I think it would be really good to sort of just touch on that a little bit.
I'll take the floor.
Yeah, go for it.
I think this is an opportunity here. You know, Australian games market is quite look. It's a tight market. We're all fishing from the same pond at the end of the day. We've all been in that situation, the example I gave earlier, where, you know, you might have a staff member who's been offered 25% more and you just can't compete with it, you know. I think as peers who working for, you know, competitors, and rather than pricing each other out in the market, I think we should be really taking the opportunity and making the most of this. And I'm not saying that headhunting is okay. You know, it really, at the end of the day, it gives an opportunity for the individual. And those individuals, if they're going to leave, they're going to leave, you know. Yeah. You might do everything possible to try and make them stay. You might throw them money. You might do whatever. But I think the biggest risk for us as a business is that we get into a price war. And you start throwing money at people, companies offering 25% more, we'll offer you 30% more. How does that impact your existing staff, the rest of your staff that you've got on board? Does that mean that you're going to give all of them a 30% pay increase as well? I think it's important to... I think it's important to respect... other businesses in the marketplace as well. I think headhunting it happens. It just needs to be done in a respectful way. Don't pillage a company, you know. Don't go hard on one company and make them feel like you're attacking them. I work for a global business and I'm very conscious of not coming across as too aggressive when it comes to recruitment, but we're pulling from the same pool at the end of the day, and so I think it's an opportunity to go in. Those of us who are recruiting on behalf of students studios and on behalf of organisations, to go in respectfully and to offer what's on the market. Don't go off the beaten track, because at the end of the day, the person who misses out is the candidate. You know, you offer them 25% more, but the expectation is that they're doing 25% more work. If they're not ready for that and you're offering a grad, 100K first year out, you're not going to get 100K's worth out of them. Well, you'd be lucky. Hopefully you do. But, you're setting them up for failure, really, at the end of the day. And I think it's really important to pay people what they're worth, not to entice them too hard, and to go forth respectfully.
Yeah, and I think on the business side as well, when staff are getting approached all the time, when you have a culture and a great environment to work in, that's what you want to try and create. So when your staff do get tapped on the shoulder, they're saying, no, I'm happy where I am, thank you. Because like we were saying before, sometimes it's not all about the money. It's about the values and what you're getting when you come to work every day, and or if you have flexible hours and things like that. Sometimes the dollar sign always isn't that that important. But if you're having a hard time at work and you're not valued and you're not getting recognised at work, maybe that tap on the shoulder is just what you need to kind of turn your head. So as a business, creating a culture and making sure that you're recognising your staff and keeping them engaged, and making sure that there's fun things to do outside of work and all types of things, are not just about the money as well.
Yeah, like studios here, like recruiters here, we are not enemy, right? We should work together. So we all fish on the same fish pond. So if you are like unqualified candidate, probably you can working for PlaySide for somewhere, working for Blowfish, for Grace Monkey, but 5 or 6 years old, decide to change a new job. You say, oh, this recruiter referred to me, this studio referred to me, and probably I should go back. So I'm still interested in their games. So we are not enemies. So all it's just sharing. So for me, it's most important is sharing.
I think on that note that William mentioned, sharing candidates, you talk about, we were talking about letting candidates down, for example. I might, in keywords, we predominantly work in console, but I might get a great candidate that works in mobile games, but we just can't cater for that. So I might then say, look, it's easier for me to say no to a candidate if I've got another path to give them. So I might say, look, we don't work in mobile games, but my friend Luke over here works in mobile games. I can put him onto you. It is, candidate sharing can be done across businesses, and I think it is a good way to kind of encourage that, because it is a very small pond. And at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that the candidates land a good job.
Yeah, awesome. And I guess, is there any kind of tips that may help? And you sort of touched on this a little bit before, of creating that environment, but any tips to help sort of preventing kind of, I guess, poaching from your business that you might have for those out there?
Not so much tips, but just come and have a chat with me. If someone taps you on the shoulder and you're like, oh, that sounds interesting, or if you're unsure, just come and have a chat. Most of the time, all of the time, I'd much rather have that conversation with you. And if there's anything I can do to, if there's something that we don't know about that is lacking in your career, or maybe something that's happening at work, let me try and help that. If I don't know about it, I can't help. So I'd rather you come and be honest, have the conversation, and if it is that we can't find common ground or I can't provide something, then by all means I'm happy to support that movement into that next step, because at the end of the day, it's your career. We want you to succeed. We want you to enjoy what you're doing at work. So come talk to me.
Yeah, awesome. We also get tapped on the shoulders for jobs, so we know what it's like. So I'd say probably start that conversation earlier on in the process when you're interviewing, and say, hey, these are the reasons that I've sort of accepted that tap on the shoulder. Because normally there's an underlying reason why you've accepted that tap on the shoulder. But yeah, I guess let's start looking at sort of how you can get into video games and other areas of the market, because obviously we work in a very small pool. We all kind of know each other. So I guess, where can we find candidates in relevant industries that can help kind of fill those roles?
I think in a candidate short market, you do need to get creative. We're all looking for senior programmers, we're all looking for experience. We're all looking for, senior artists, people with experience across the board, rather than just looking internally within the games industry. I think there's an opportunity here to broaden that view a little bit more. And it might be that we've managed to attract someone from a completely different industry in programming. If I use programming as an example, they might not necessarily be a square peg for a square hole, but they might bring another level of diversity and another perspective on things. So from a recruitment perspective, I think we really need to broaden that out a little bit more. Also, look at your regular channels. You've got your obvious ones, your Seek, your LinkedIn, all of that. But then you've got the game-specific channels as well, your Samia, your Discords, your Facebook groups. That seems to be a real big thing. Or just target the businesses that you're interested in. I can tell you now, pretty much every single game studio is recruiting at the moment because there is so much work coming in, not enough people. Put your resume in, reach out, find out who is head of recruiting, and put your hat in the ring and just see what happens.
Yeah. And also, that when we're talking about cover letters being so important, if you are from an alternate, industry, making sure that in that cover letter you say that you're, on the side you do all of this stuff in the games or whatever like that. So we know we don't just kind of pass you by easily. And also as a business, when you want to get people from different industries in, having the support in place to make sure that they succeed in their role. Don't just, be looking for other people from different industries, get them in and then forget, because, we want to set these people up for success, putting together proper talent development pipelines so you make sure that everyone has the right things and tools that they need to be able to make that transition over to the games industry.
Yeah, and also I think it's not a tip, but somehow when we interview the candidate outside the game industry, we try to manage their explanation, because someone say, because you are a gamer, probably I work for a game for 2 years and get retired. So, you need to manage the experience from the candidate from the other industry, especially like other IT or fresh guys. Because they say you are working like a blockchain or working in games. So once I launch again, I can get retired. So it's not possible, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of industries out there that are quite relevant to what we do. I, for example, find some success in like SaaS, so software as a service, for things like engineers who want to, their values align with more of the creative space. They want to go into that passion. SaaS pays more than games at the moment, but they kind of, one of their values is, they want to be in the creative space. So just touching on that and making sure that kind of aligns. But there's a whole world out there of people who can align. But I guess we all play a role in this, in really kind of injecting talent within the industry and growing the industry as a whole, because as the work continues to come in, how are we as an industry playing a part in building up that pipelines and not just everyone going after the same people in the pool? So I just want to touch on that for a little bit. No? Go. Talk. No. So what's a way that you guys, I guess, inject talent into the industry? Do you bring in sort of grad programs, or are you looking at sort of training? You've got training set up for people from external sort of industries. Are you looking at bringing people in internationally? What are some strategies that you've put into place to really kind of help the industry as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, all of the things that you just mentioned, absolutely considering overseas candidates, bringing juniors into the business and allowing them to grow and learn from all of the great talent that you already have currently there. I've just lost my train of thought, so if anyone's...
I'll jump in.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we as employers have a responsibility to continue that pipeline going. I think it's important to give graduates an opportunity to learn and develop. Graduate programs are really valuable, not just for building up your talent pool, but actually building up the talent pool across the industry as well. I think we have a responsibility to pay it forward and to give, the new generation an opportunity to really spread their wings. In a lot of instances, if you've been 20 plus years in any industry and then a grad comes on board, they usually blow you away with how much they know and how informed they are. They might not necessarily have the skills to be able to independently, build a game from scratch, but they will absolutely bring value in different areas, and I think we have a responsibility to continue that going. Training and development is always key, giving staff an opportunity to attend, things like GCAP, giving them an opportunity to really flourish and to expand out into other areas, networking events, rather than discouraging people from mingling with the competition. I think it's really important to encourage it. If you trust your staff and you give them an opportunity to really flourish, they will, and it will come back around within your business. And I think at the end of the day, knowledge sharing is really, really, really crucial. Giving people an opportunity or a platform to be able to share their knowledge throughout. We're not all experts. We can't all be overarching experts. So you might have niche areas that you want to be able to share. Knowledge sharing is definitely important.
I think it's very important as well to really kind of look at what's the future of your workforce look like. So if you're looking at your workforce over the next sort of 2 years and it's literally full of seniors and leads and people with very high experience to run these kind of projects for you, what's the cost that's going to have on the business and the industry itself? Because it's a problem now and it's only going to get worse from here. So really having a look at, okay, we're going to need 5 seniors in the next 2 years. Okay, cool. How are we going to get there outside of just recruiting? Because it is one facet of a major pie. It's a sliver, it's the crust. It's the cheeky little centre of what else that you can kind of do within your workforce. Look at your juniors and go, okay, how do we get them to where they need to be by the time we need someone in that role? If you're not looking at that, it's going to be a very expensive exercise come that time, obviously for your projects. Because as we've seen in many industries, cost goes up, price goes up, your profits drop. It can have a bit of effect. But something to kind of think about there. But I guess that kind of comes to the end of our time of the new iPhone 18 launch. I want to thank you. Hopefully you'll purchase one on your way. No idea. I don't even know what iPhone we're up to. But that's pretty much kind of it. I think we opened the floor to questions. I'm looking at the back for confirmation. I'm wrapping up. Right, okay. I've been told to be quiet. Right, okay, cool. I guess that's our time. Look,
if you do have any questions, I'm here 3 days. Come and find me and ask away. Happy to answer.
Yeah, we'll be around pretty much for the full 3 days. So tap us on the shoulder, ask us if we want a job. No, I'm kidding. My boss is in the audience. I'll talk to you later. Reach out. Just say, hey, look, I'm struggling with this. What tips do you have, or whatever the case may be? But yeah, thank you for your time. And my name's Luke. If you hated the chat, it's still Luke. But enjoy. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Oh, that was good.
Oh my God.
I'll take this.